We are Steve and Jill.
Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Steve and Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWit, and this is the Land Academy Show.
This is episode number 2195. Jill and I are talking about today. We're talking about how to target land sellers who are most likely to sell their property below market value. Geez, we always want to do that. But what's different about now?
Well, before we get into that, I would like to apologize if your eyes are hurting because we're both wearing plaid. It might be a little much.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You look like clowns.
I know. Yeah.
Both of us.
We had a call earlier today, and one of our staff members messaged me and said, boy, that's a lot.
Did she tell us to stop it?
She's like, were you trying to match? I'm like, no, clearly we're not trying to match. It's just like, I didn't think about it. I just want to wear plaid today. Not knowing you wear plaid, or not remembering, I should say, that you, Jack, wear plaid every day.
Maybe we should go back to Land Academy in uniforms.
Those are kind of easy. That did make it nice. Put on your Land Academy polo, and then we're good to go. You had a little zip up. I would do different things. We can bring that back.
Each day on the show, we answer a question from our Land Academy member Discord forum and take a deep dive into land-related topics by your request.
Okay. This is a lengthy one. Am I going to read the whole thing?
I can do it. You know what? I'm going to do it because I'm real familiar with this topic.
And you can extract the stuff that we don't need to say out loud.
This is a brilliant entry in Discord by two partners named Chris and Chris.
Yep.
Zip code by zip code, local price trends and volatility. And now here's the question. That's the topic, I guess. Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. Chris here. For at least a few months now, Jack, that's me, has been educating the community about the recent macro real estate market trend. This is a very timely discussion and timely question. As he said, the U.S. is headed into a recessionary region in a cycle, and this trend will certainly affect pricing across the board. Absolutely, for sure. I'm thankful for Jack bringing this to our attention. It's made me dive deeper into localized trends, which I think is great. More specifically, I've been looking at price trends and price volatilities, how much prices sway across all the zip codes within a state. Smartest thing ever. Here's what I found and why it's something for you to think about when pricing your next mailer. As expected, zip codes are not all trending in the same direction. In my case, the trends are as high as a positive 32% change and as low as a minus 12% change. Price volatility can swing from 0.08%, which is his interpretation of a very stable market, to 49%, which is highly unstable. Now I'm going to put a little entry in here personally. Inefficient markets are why we make money. I want to see volatility. I want to see strangeness. And then I want to extrapolate, which is what he's trying to do here. I personally extrapolate a bunch of stuff that Jill doesn't know about and choose a market. Now, as a Land Academy member, I discuss all of this stuff in chapter 3 and 4. Let's continue. So he's saying to himself now, okay, Chris, that's great. But what does it mean for my pricing? You might be saying. Here's an example of a recent deal we were considering. 2.1 acres with an estimated retail value of $168,000 and change. In zip code A, the price trend is positive, 5% increase. The volatility is 11%. In zip code B, the trend is a negative 11% with a volatility of 14%. Let's assume that we're evaluating the same property, 2.1 acres with a retail value of $160,000+, just to make it a little easier to make the point about the effects of trends and volatility. This thing that he came up with, I think, is slightly brilliant. I created a simulation to estimate the retail price after 3 months. Here's the results. In zip code A, the price is estimated to increase to $191,000. In zip code B, the price is scheduled to decrease to $113,000, originally starting out at $170,000. Here's his final comment. If I'm doing the deal in zip code B, I need to account for the selling price near $113,000 and price the acquisition accordingly. You need to do the same thing in A also. So I brought this up, this laborious boy and a Jill concept for everyone. I love these models. They don't make any money. This is what you need to do in this market, and please retain this after that lengthy description. And Chris, by the way, you guys are brilliant. Don't stop what you're doing. Just add to what you're doing what I'm about to say. In every market, let's just say in every zip code, there is what I would call a dollar breakpoint. Here's an example. In a zip code, let's use Old Town Scottsdale, just because we always pick on Old Town Scottsdale. It's not a good place to buy houses or land, by the way. There's zip code 85251. I know just because we look at property there for fun for ourselves all the time, and we own a lot of property there. The breakpoint to buy an SFR, for example, is approximately $600,000. Does that mean a 14,000 square foot house? No. It means the breakpoint dollar point to enter the market, no matter who you are, forget about the asset, is about $600,000. Everything that's listed in 85251 below $600,000, let's say $550,000, gets sold. It gets listed, and it gets sold almost immediately. So what do we do if we're going to buy something in that zip code, or any zip code for that matter? We buy below the dollar breakpoint. The exact same thing applies with land. So while this model is awesome to talk about for most people except Joe, it's not going to make any money. I don't know if $113,000 or $190,000 is going to happen in 3 months for a $160,000 asset, but I do know if I buy a property below the dollar breakpoint, substantially below it, because somebody's experiencing a life event, we're going to make a ton of money. And that's what I want you to focus on in 2025. When a market's on the way up, value-wise, you can get away with buying property above that breakpoint and do fine because it's on its way up. There's a feeding frenzy like we had in 2020. So I hope that's super clear. Model's great, buy below the breakpoint.
Thank you.
Today's topic, how to target land sellers who are most likely to sell below market value.
You know what's funny? I was going to add to the question is this. I just innately do it, but for me, it's experience.
I agree.
And especially some of the markets that we're in right now. That's one of the beautiful things about Land Academy. You know, we have done markets all over the country ourselves. You taught me everything getting rolling. And now with the deal funding and everything, all the deals that our community is doing, I have that much more experience. And every member that shows up on our Thursday calls, they're learning about all these areas that are not mailing, you know. Mm-hmm. So you might be a pro in Tennessee, but when you're on the member call with us on our Thursdays, you're learning about Connecticut and you're learning about Nevada too, and Oregon, and fill in the blank, you know, all because we look at deals that everybody's doing. So for me, I appreciate this. This is brilliant what you guys did, Chris and Chris, and I love it. And like I think what Jack said, don't change a thing. It's getting you to where you need to be. But in a few months from now, especially if you hang out in one area, you're already going to know. Your gut is going to tell you and the math is going to back it up. That's it. So it's good.
I partially included. There's a lot of questions or comments I could have included in these topics, and I partially included this one in there because I am personally proud that we attract members. These are Land Academy members at this level.
True. This
level of intelligence, enthusiasm. You know, the delivery of this whole concept was probably better than I would have delivered it myself. In fact, for sure it is. And it's a very valid, hey, let's look at the data. What Jill's saying is total. And then on top of that, I want you to have a test for reason or a common sense test to see if it's priced above or below the market.
You know what I would do too? Whether it's zip code A or zip code B, I take the worst of the two and then try to hit that.
Me too.
Because then if I'm accounting for the horribleness of zip code B, then if I picked up a property at my pricing in zip code A and it keeps going up like that, ding, ding, boy, did I win.
Yep.
And that's what happens sometimes.
You could not have said that better.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. So how do we target the land sellers who are most likely to sell below market value? Well, this is all about you.
This
is Jack.
Number one.
Making my phone ring with the right people.
you don't want to play in a market where you do everything correctly and you don't make any money. So step one is analyze the market, not
Good.
so much how do you target the land sellers. You got to look at the market first, and you want to find a market that passes the red, green, yellow test really well. So even though we're in recessionary times and there's a lot of inventory, there's a ton of property on the market, I still want to know that there's not market stagnant. It's not stagnating in any given zip code. I want to know if I buy a piece of property $100,000 below the breakpoint, whether it's a house or a piece of land, that the market will absorb it because there's a lot of people buying and selling property there. So I don't want a stagnant market. When times are really highfalutin and everybody's buying and selling real estate and it's going just at lightning speed, which it's not right now, that you can get that market type of market's very forgiving. I can make a bunch of acquisition mistakes and I'm still probably going to do okay. Right now, you want to be in a market where things are moving, they're not stagnant, and buy below that so that the minute you list it, it's going to sell. So first, how do I target land sellers who are most likely to sell? I first look at the market that they're in because I want to know what's going to happen after I buy it. Check. Number two, there's a life circumstance that is a trigger for people, that's their profile, to sell their property below value to people like us or to people like you. And that life trigger, from all data sources that are available to me right now, is, unless I start really digging hard, and I don't want to do that, I don't want to work that hard, is not available. So I've identified a market that I know what's going to happen when I list a property, and I know what it's going to sell for within reason. Everybody gets an offer. So if there might be 13,000 logical people that own a piece of property in a zip code, that's a pretty big zip code actually, they're all getting an offer from us. And that offer is going to be, now I know the market's great, that offer is going to be at a number where I know I can safely double my, if it's land, I can double my money. If it's a house, where I can make $100,000 cash.
You know what's interesting about this topic? Can I?
Yeah.
I'm interrupting.
I'm done.
All right. Your thoughts would be, well, let's just, let's make this easy. Where would a lot of sellers be most likely to sell below? Well, shoot, flooded markets, because then they're just happy to get anything. To which which is not wrong, going by that. If the market is flooded, there's so many properties and they're just happy to take a offer because they're only getting, how many views on the other properties that are listed kind of thing, then yeah, that stands to reason that you could get a really cheap price. The thing you have to watch out for, which Jack is great at, is you don't want to hit a market that's going down and it's going to continue to go down and we don't know when it's going to come back or if it comes back, For example, can we all buy cheap houses in Detroit? Yeah, and we could for years.
That goes without saying.
And I hate to pick on Detroit, but there's other areas like that too, in the country that, gosh, it's just a tough place to make money. Detroit's a good example because it's a city. There's a lot of property, especially when it was all going down. There was lots of things, and it's just sad. So you have to weigh that it's still a growing community, and the things are going to last. And you have to kind of do a little more homework, I think.
Here's a fifth grade description. In any given market, people are buying and selling pretty regularly $600,000 assets. That seems to be like the top of the bell curve.
Okay.
Things that are listed for $700,000 stay on the market for a long time. Things at $800,000, years on market. Right. And then after that, it's a specialty property that not conducive to our business model. So $600,000 seems to be the magic part. Everything below that, around, $500,000 sells pretty quickly. Congratulations. You want to be below $500,000. You want to buy a property for $430,000 and sell it for $5,000, maybe $499,000.
True.
That's what you want, and that.
Yeah, well, for land, even less.
Sellers.
Let's talk land.
To wrap. Yeah, that could be land too.
But for land, buying it. If I'm selling something for $400,000, I'm buying it for $150,000.
So, why the hell, Jack? How do you target these sellers that are most likely to sell at this price that you're talking about? Everybody gets an offer. everyone who's a logical seller gets an offer, and you let the mail do its job.
Yeah.
And then the 2 or 3 or 8 people that are saying, having a life event, call Jill back, and Jill makes friends with him and we get a deal done.
And that
That's how you
ties
do
what's
this.
going to talk about tomorrow. So you just said canvass the area. And then tomorrow I'm going to tell you what to say right out of the gate.
Join us tomorrow where Jill discusses the first 3 questions to ask as a land seller when you get them on the phone. You are not alone in your real estate ambition. We are Jack and Jill. Information
And inspiration.
to buy undervalued property.
We hope you found our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.